The foreclosure mess is seemingly getting messier today, at least for Wells Fargo, because the nation's biggest lender, the latest bank to say that it made mistakes. They said yesterday they'll refile thousands of affidavits. My next guest calls Wells' plan an insult. He's been on the show before. We're welcoming back here Ohio Attorney General Richard Cordray. Earlier this month, you know, the Attorney General there filed a lawsuit against GMAC over issuing false affidavits in many Ohio foreclosure cases. Mr. Attorney General, welcome back on the show. Tell me about what you intend to do with Wells Fargo.
Well, what's clear now is that the large mortgage servicers don't even know what's going on in their own shop. We spoke with Wells Fargo when we started our investigation before the 50 state attorneys general got together. They assured us that they were different from the other financial firms. They did not have these robo-signing problems. Now we're finding they're acknowledging they have those problems in at least 55,000 cases. So they're going to become a focus of our investigation, and we're going to have to take steps as needed to clean this up.
So you had already, as we introduced you, taken action along with 49 other attorneys general here to probe the foreclosure issues with other financial firms. Now with Wells Fargo, they have said that they do not intend to stop foreclosure sales. Are you asking them to do so now?
I think that these firms need to understand the financial exposure they've created for themselves. They have defrauded our courts. They now think they can just say, oops, give us that evidence back and we'll give you better evidence. The courts are not going to take kindly to that. We had a GMAC case yesterday in Cleveland where GMAC tried to withdraw their fraudulent evidence. The court said no. The court is going to consider sanctions and penalties, and there's going to be a lot of this. The courts are going to impose this on the firms, and they need to look to a global solution to this problem where they put it behind them by reaching agreements with lenders and investors to clean up this problem immediately.
But you are not asking them to halt foreclosures in your state?
I think they should be holding foreclosures in every case where they know they've submitted fraudulent evidence. They should not simply try to put in new evidence and think the courts are going to accept that. That's not going to be good enough. These courts are going to give sanctions. They're upset at being defrauded, having evidence presented to them as good when it was not good. And it's not going to be enough for them just to say, oh, we made a mistake. Here's some different evidence. Bank of America is trying to do that. It's not going to work for them. GMAC is trying to do it. Not going to work for them. And Wells Fargo needs to recognize they've got a serious problem on their hands at this point.
When you say you are encouraging conversation here, in terms of financial settlement, there seems a lot of uncertainty on Wall Street as to just what is being asked of these firms to sort of make good if there was wrongdoing here. Can you give us a more specific description here of what you're asking as to what would help resolve the situation?
Yes, I think in any major case, if a party realizes they have a bigger problem than they had understood, they look for a way to settle the case. Here, rather than trying to put in new evidence and push the courts to give orders that are likely to involve sanctions, fines, penalties, maybe default and contempt, they would be well served to sit down and think about what they can do to resolve these cases with borrowers, maybe do some loan mitigation, keep these people in their homes, and reach a resolution so that they don't force the courts to give orders that are going to be pretty hard on them, I think, in a lot of cases.
Sir, is this all stemming back to that first bit of evidence that you've referred to in the past in regard to testimony given by a former employee of Ally Financial and GMAC as to the robo-signing process, or have you uncovered new evidence in the investigation that you've had underway so far?
Yeah, well, there's new evidence as to Wells Fargo. There was a deposition of one of their employees taken in South Carolina that demonstrates a similar problem to the Jeff Stefan GMAC problem from his deposition in Maine. The boiler room of these operations are pretty unappetizing affairs. These people did not know what they were signing, but they were ordered to go ahead and sign anyway. It's not just individual people who signed affidavits that are flawed. It is a business model based on fraud that was designed to cut corners in the foreclosure process, because these firms continue to think they play by a different set of rules than every other party in every other court case in this country, and they don't, and they're going to find that out.
Well, we look forward to tracking what happens with this. Thank you for your time, Mr. Attorney General. Just a reminder here, we're talking about Wells Fargo having acknowledged it made mistakes in affidavits in 55,000 foreclosures.